Thank you everyone for joining us today. Hey Jason, how you doing?
Hey, how you going?
How's it going over there in Melbourne?
It's good. It's like a weird day today. It's really hot, but it's just started raining. So
So for those of you that are geographically not inclined like myself, it's always morning for Jason when it's like afternoon in LA. So there's always a huge time difference. But
yeah,
thanks for getting up, getting at it, starting your day with us.
no
Um,
worries. Thanks for having me.
Always super excited to see you and see what's going on over there. Um, So I want to hear everything. I know that you've been working through some amazing projects despite the whole, COVID year.
Yeah,
I know you've definitely taken advantage of some of the time to rearrange your space. You're working at home, obviously.
yeah.
Um, I want to hear, first of all, a little bit about just your background as an artist. I know you're an art collector also. I see something behind you.
Yeah,
Give,
it's like
give us a little insight of your
hero
work and
piece.
what you love. Go ahead.
Okay. So basically, I'll just give like a bit of background about me. So I kind of started as like a traditional illustrator. So I left school. I didn't graduate high school. I dropped out because it just wasn't working for me. So I dropped out to do like an illustration course. Did that, and then like when you're young, you think you know everything, and I was just still kind of like figuring everything out. And then from illustration, it kind of led into like graphic design. So I went to university to do graphic design when I was, I think, 21. And then while I was doing graphic design, I again realized that that was like too restrictive for me. So I started doing 3D as like a way to kind of um, like just break up my schoolwork, I guess, and just kind of have a bit of fun. And I just fell in love with that. And it was like a medium that I could really create the characters that I've always like drawn or like photo manipulated. And now it's stuck.
Did you ever mix like graphic design and the 3D stuff? Were you doing type-based work? I don't know if that's super
Yeah,
early.
I when I first started, I was doing kind of like really shitty like digital collages.
I mean, all of
Um,
our early work was like, I wish Google would just erase it from.
yeah, yeah, I'm so glad like my old MySpace and DeviantArt and everything like wasn't my name. It was like some stupid like
For
teenage
sure.
name that I made up because I'm like, fuck, if anyone found that.
I
But yeah,
that's old names.
I kind of mixed it all, but yeah, now it's kind of obviously just 3D based pretty much.
Totally. And what have you kind of discovered in the past couple of years as you refine your style? You've like gotten really, really deep into like an amazing, signature style of your glossy characters, of the
Yeah.
modeling you do. What's been like kind of your path, or what have you learned? What have you kind of like pushed to the side?
Um, well, I don't know. It's funny you bring this up because it's kind of only in like the last maybe year that I've really kind of figured out the perspective that I'm making all my work from. Um, so, and I said this in an interview I did the other week. It's kind of like the characters that I make are almost representative of like different sides of my personality, I guess. So sometimes when I do like the feminine characters, it's me kind of like exploring more of like a feminine side
Hmm.
versus the more like hyper masculine, like disgustingly jacked kind of. Obviously, I'm not, but it's just
I
kind
don't
of
know.
like
I don't know. I see
it's just
those muscles.
exploring that kind of idea. And then in terms of like the themes, it's kind of almost like because my work kind of fluctuates between really like light and happy and colorful, and then kind of like dark and gory and violent. And it's almost like in the real world when I'm feeling happy, I kind of have to make stuff that's like disgusting and dark, and then vice versa, just to kind of like balance it out. It's like a really weird thing, and I kind of only figured it out the other day when I was answering a similar question, and I was like, hey, that actually kind of that makes sense.
Well, it's almost like you're so engaged in creating your work and, doing your personal work that like you don't really I always felt this, like I didn't really see the connections when I was in it, but then you step back and it's like
Yeah,
super dark or like super bubbly, or you know what would you say
100%.
are like the, I don't know, maybe like top five kind of character or like mood directions that you go, because I know you have the hyper masculine and then you have like the hyper feminine for sure.
Yeah,
Then you did the Halloween series, which was like super dark.
yeah. Yeah,
What else?
so I mean,
No,
the Halloween series, that was a bit of fun. So I kind of, in a way, almost got like challenged to do that. So my friend Shams, S Makia, you know her, she's with H Plus as well. She does dailies, and she was kind of like, you need to do dailies, like just give it a go. And that's not how I work. Like I'm not a daily person. I just don't like the pressure. But I was like, it's Halloween. I didn't have any clients that month, so I was like, I'll give it a go.
yeah, I love it.
I loved it. It was fun. Probably wouldn't do it again though. I also copped a lot of shit for some of the things that I made.
I mean, it was like some pretty heavy fan-based,
Yeah.
know, icons that you did, movies, characters. So
Yeah, the Saw one definitely ruffled some feathers. That got sent far and wide, and people didn't know how to take it.
so funny. I mean, whatever. Living on the
Yeah,
edge.
that's it.
Living on the edge. I want to hear a little bit about your, personal collection. I know you collect art. You, collect physical art, sculptural stuff.
Yeah.
What was like some of the most influential artists that you saw, from the beginning of your career that maybe now you've collected, or like what did you see when you were younger that like really made you want to get into doing what you do now, like characters or paintings or?
Yeah. So I think in terms of like how my characters look and how the figures are based and things like that. Growing up, we used to have like a VHS of the Ghost in a Shell anime. And there's just like this one scene that's like burned into my head where she's like on top of this like spider robot ripping the door off, and like all her muscles just like start bulging and ripping. And that's kind of like just been stuck in my mind and really influenced how like my characters always look like they're just extremely straining. And then obviously like coming from illustration and things like that, I looked at a lot of like fashion illustration with like the long limbs, long necks. And I think like when I explain that to people, they kind of are like, oh yeah, like I can see that now. But then like in terms of artists who I admire that I've been lucky enough to collect, so Soyarama is like one of my all-time favorite artists and influences.
Love his work. Soriyama,
Yes.
Hajime Soriyama, just for everyone else, is the artist that does the kind of chromed out robot women.
The sexy
I
robots.
forget what the word is for like half human, half robot. Is it android? No.
Like androids, yeah.
Is that, yeah.
Yeah,
I've always loved his work though, obviously.
It's so amazing. So when I got my first major project, I was lucky enough to be able to afford a piece of his, and then since then I've added some more. I got 2 of his sculptures. Yeah, so he's a massive influence, and that's probably like my most prized art piece that I have, just because it means so much to me.
Yeah, I'm always kind of envious that I love the idea of like collecting, art prints, of course, but like a tangible, like a sculptural piece.
Yeah.
I know that you obviously have more sculptural stuff than I do, and you're starting to get into sculpture yourself.
I am, yeah.
You were 3D printing, and then you just got your first piece fabricated?
Yeah, so I was 3D printing myself, and then I just wasn't happy with how it was coming out. Like, when you're working on your own stuff, you're always like a perfectionist.
No, it's never good. It's
no, never. Like, people loved it, but I was just like, nah, it's not the quality that I want. So I think I started looking in 2019 because originally I was going to do like almost like action figures, I guess, but like a bit more higher up. And then that kind of diffused down to wanting to just do kind of like sculptural art pieces. I've got my first one here, which I want to show.
I know. Can you do a sneak peek? Can we see what you've been working on?
Yeah. Let me just spin can I spin this around?
I think you should be able to. Now,
yeah.
Is this something that you're going to have accessible? Are people going to be able to collect or purchase?
So that is the plan. Okay, so this is my sculpture.
So gorgeous. What is it, resin?
Yeah, so it's fully resin. The color doesn't really come through on the video. It's kind of like a dark pink through to a transparent, almost peach.
It's so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, so this one's about 15 inches tall. It's really heavy, which was something that I kind of wanted to make sure, because I'm like, it needs to be heavy.
Yeah, you want it to be substantial.
Yeah. Yeah, so this originally was going to be for my next Nifty drop.
Oh my God.
I think we're kind of shifting away from that.
That's
For
a
that,
big
it's
tease. That's a big
yeah.
old tease.
We're still kind of in discussions about if that's going to be a part of it. But if not, I'm going to be releasing them myself later this year. So I'll let everyone know.
So I know I've seen that character that you do a lot. It's just like a really angelic, pulled back. Does she have a name, or does she have like an entity?
She doesn't have not so much a name. She's kind of like my original character. Do you know what I mean? Like my original interpretation of like this kind of super feminine part of my personality that I was kind of exploring.
I mean,
and
she looks kind of like you.
Yeah, we both have filler. It's all good. No, it's and like sometimes people get a bit. I don't want to say like shitty, but they get a bit kind of thrown off, and they think that when I do my female characters and things like that, I'm trying to push like a certain body image, and that's 100%.
Barbie, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 100% not what I'm doing. Like not at all.
I think your work has the full spectrum from like grotesque and, you know, muscular to like super wavy and skinny. And I mean, you know, like everything. So
yeah,
I feel you.
It's definitely something that I've become much more conscious of in the last, like, I'm embarrassed to say, but probably the last 12 months. It should have been earlier, but definitely become much more conscious about it, and including more like different shapes and colors and everything like that, just to kind of broaden it, I guess, and have more representation for everyone, so everyone can. I mean, I know it's my personal work and it's my experiences, but it's also important for other people to be able to see it and kind of relate to it, I guess, and feel like they can.
Yeah, definitely.
Sympathize with it.
I feel like you have a pretty open spectrum of like the, you know, obviously genders and races and, you know, types of people and types of bodies that you portray, but you're right. It's totally amazing to be conscious of that and, you know, not get too stuck on something. But
exactly.
Yeah, I think that this past year was a big learn for all of us for, you know, so many reasons.
Yeah.
Have you been able to like evolve your, you know, your personal practice through having this time? Like what have you been kind of, you know, keeping yourself busy with? Have you taken advantage of, you know, software or I don't know, you know, stuff you can do at home to evolve?
Yeah, I was one of those people that was like, yes, lockdown, great. I'm home for 3 months. I'm gonna like buy all these Udemy courses.
Right?
That's what we thought. I'm gonna get all these courses. I'm gonna learn all this software. I did it, like brought it all, and then I ended up just watching like YouTube for lockdown.
Right.
So I kind of I've started dabbling with new softwares and things like that to kind of broaden like my workflow, I guess. So I'm definitely implementing more of like ZBrush, which is
oh cool,
more of like a stronger modeling software as opposed to what I normally work with. And then also like Marvelous Designer, I'm using that a lot more now, which is, for those that don't know, that's more like clothing and fabric simulations, just to kind of get it looking more like ethereal and like flowy, and how I'm kind of picturing it in my head. Because working with like a software, you're always limited to a degree. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just kind of trying to eliminate as much of that as possible.
And just for everyone else, and I mean also for me always, what's like the two base softwares that you use or that you have consistently used? Yeah,
so like I could probably get attacked for saying this, but so Blender's my main 3D software. Yeah. Everyone wants everyone thinks that I use Cinema 4D. I don't use Cinema 4D. No shade against it. It's amazing. I just started in Blender. I learned how to use Blender. I don't want to try and start from scratch again. So because when I started 3D, it was just a hobby, so I didn't want to pay. I think Cinema 4D was like $800 or something, and I was a poor student living off like $1 coffee and cigarettes.
And you killed it with Blender, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can do everything I want to do in it. So I mean, I haven't hit any walls yet. And then my other software that I would probably use the most would be Daz. So I kind of build out the majority of my character in there, and then I bring it into Blender and sculpt a bit more. Now I'm also using ZBrush to sculpt a bit more into it, but yeah.
So cool. Yeah, and I mean, I feel like just since I've known you, your work has progressed like constantly. You're just constantly pushing, where you can go with it. We've had some really, really cool opportunities to, model out, some amazing clients, Tom of Finland, Nikki the Dragon, some musicians, magazines. I don't know where I went. What's like some of your dream, clients, dream models, what's something big that you would love to get into in the future?
Well, the magazine that we're working on at the moment, I'm not going to say any names or anything, but who that's with, like who's creative directing that's like a massive thing for me.
Yeah, that was an amazing release.
Yeah, so I'm excited to share that.
Something to look forward to, everyone.
It's coming up really cool. It looks sick. Not to blow my own trumpet. So I don't know, someone else it's really tricky because there's so many people that I admire who I'd love to work with, but I just don't know if my vibe would mash with their vibe visually. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'd love to work with Soriyama. That would be incredible.
Huge dream.
Or like
I probably have his email or phone number or something somewhere. I interviewed him like
get on that.
I talked to him ages ago when I was working and writing for Juxtapose, and
I remember you telling me that when I first signed with you, and I was like, yes, this is who I want to be with.
This is it. I mean, I'll maybe do some digging and just like see if I can creep in there, because I mean, for me too, that would be awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, like the Tom of Finland project, again, Tom of Finland is such a huge influence on me, obviously being in like erotica and being gay. That was such a milestone project for me.
Yeah, he's an incredibly influential erotic illustrator from the 60s, 70s?
And before, I'm pretty sure as well, yeah.
I guess it was kind of a documentary, but it was more of a movie that came out about him. I've always been obsessed with his work too.
Yeah. So definitely like that. I would love to do more work with them. I mean, we've done one like official thing with them, and then I've done a few of their like little festival exhibition things they have.
Yeah.
So it's always cool to be invited by them to stuff like that. It's just kind of like, yeah, that's cool.
I know, amazing foundation for sure.
I can see Ethel Kane in the chat. That's someone who I would love to work with. Go check out her music, everyone. She has a new song coming out next week.
Little plug, bring her up, Mother Kane. Awesome. I kind of want to just turn this also into a live pet feed. So
yeah.
I want to.
Do we get Dominic?
Dog. I want to. Yeah. What's his name? Dominic.
His name is Dominic Michel. He has two names.
Jason lives with a beautiful white stallion that I'm obsessed with.
Where is he? He's down here. He's having a little sleep. Dom.
So gorge. So you've just tuned into the H Plus Creative pet feed. This is a live pet feed.
Yeah, so he just literally sleeps all day.
I love him.
He's just a little angel.
I love him. How long have you had him? He's a couple years old, right?
He is 2 and a bit. I think he turns 3 in April.
Oh, he's a puppy, man.
He's a big baby. He was a rescue, so we got him at 12 weeks old from a shelter, and he was like the size of a normal dog already. He weighs like 60 kilos now. Like he's a big boy.
He's a beast. I love him.
But he doesn't realize. He thinks he's a little dog. You just like lay on your lap.
Oh, what a great guy. So what do you got on deck today?
I'm working on. Yeah, I'm working on that magazine thing that we were talking about. And then I've got an album artwork that we're doing, which I will either do that today or tomorrow. But I'm also working on my new Nifty drop, which is happening in March, mid-March-ish.
Exciting.
Yeah, so
you've done how many Nifties so far? 2 or 3?
One.
Just one?
One.
Oh, cool,
yeah.
cool. Super exciting.
So I did my first one back in November when it was still kind of like newish, I guess. Like there was quite a few artists on there, but it's definitely snowballed in the last like few months. Yeah, So I'm working on that as well, figuring things out for that. I've got it, like, they give you the date so far in advance, and then like it just creeps up on you so quickly.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I think it's such an amazing new platform, and I've talked about this with, you know, Blake and Fred when we talked also, but
yeah, they're huge in the
those of you
space.
that are unfamiliar, niftygateway.com is a new platform for collecting digital art, for collecting art. You can use your credit card. I think it comes back to you in crypto if you do end up wanting to flip it or sell it, but to collect amazing artwork from artists such as Jason Ebeyer, Blake Catherine, Fuckrender, Smeka. A lot of the artists that we work with here at H Plus are now offering their work, super small editions, maybe even one-offs, for you to own a token of, which I think is an amazing, you know, addition to creating your personal work. Get it out there, get it to collectors.
The thing that's like most exciting about it for me is, like, it's great to have like a space. Like, obviously I love producing my work digitally and then making it physical, like objects or prints. Like I'm like a bit of a maximalist. Like I love shit around me. Like I love just feeling objects.
Me too.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a really cool thing for people who want to support digital artists or support artists. I mean, there's traditional artists on there as well that are just selling digital versions. But the thing that I love about it is there's so many young artists who, like myself included, when I first started, I was limited by the amount of money that I had to put into projects. And this is like a new avenue for so many people to earn money from what they're creating and then put it into bigger and better things. And the majority of the artists that are on there, that's what they're going to do. They're not just in it for like quick cash and then get out. They're in it to like further their work. And that's what I'm most excited about seeing, is where they all take it. Some of them are so young on there, like 17 upwards. And yeah, it's going to be incredible what they do with all this.
And yeah, honestly, I've been in the art world for so long, and I see such a value in like the investment of it for anyone that wants to get into collecting art or anyone that wants to support artists. It's like, it's such a cool new, like, I just see the longevity in it, and anyone that, you know, has a little bit extra money that's interested in starting a collection or, you know, really getting into this art world deeper. I think it's such a cool platform. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. It's really accessible as well, which is great.
So that's in March?
It will be, at the moment, it's like mid-March. I haven't got a locked-in date yet, but I've got like a general time frame.
Cool. Well, we'll stay tuned for that. In a minute, I'm going to open up a Q&A for anyone that wants to come in. We'll have a little bit of a dialogue with Jason. I actually just happen to have a couple of your prints lying around from our book.
Oh.
So just to, this was from our H Plus portfolio, just for everyone that wants another little peek at Jason's work if you're a first-time viewer, follower. And of course, this was the print that we made for DragCon. When was that DragCon? A couple years ago.
It was like 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah, love it.
Feels like a lifetime ago.
I mean, it was a lifetime ago in terms of like physical events. We did a couple digital conventions this year, which isn't quite the same.
Yeah. So that was cool though, with the with like the animated avatars and stuff. That was interesting, an interesting way for them to like adapt.
The book stuff was cool. So we got a question from Shot by Baha that is, what advice would you give to people getting into 3D and studying at university? So I'm assuming maybe someone that wants to go the route that you took. Any advice that you would give to young 3D artists?
Yeah, for sure. So I didn't learn 3D at university. I learned it through like online tutorials and just trial and error. But I mean, this is such a cliche answer, but the biggest advice is just kind of do something every day, like whether it's an hour, 10 minutes, whatever you can spare, just like get into the programs and just play around. And like, it's okay to not love everything you make. Like the first things that you make are not going to be nice normally. But it's all part of the learning experience. Like you'll get there eventually. Like, I mean, I was making stuff that I was like happy with at the time after maybe like 2 months of kind of playing around and figuring out the workspace. Cause like I came from a 2D background, so it's weird to kind of go and add that extra dimension. So instead of like height and width and also depth now. So that was kind of like the trickiest part for me to kind of wrap my head around.
Yeah, I mean, giving yourself that time, allowing yourself to have that time commitment, to experiment, to create personal work.
Yeah.
What's your balance now of like personal work to experimenting to client work? Do you like slot out, different times of your day? How do you kind of arrange?
Yeah. It depends on what the client project is. Like for certain things, I know, like I can whip up a still image. If I have the concepts and everything, I can do that in like a day. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't really need to allocate much time to it, so I can spend more time doing my personal stuff. But like in a way, I mean, this with the types of projects that I say yes to and say no to. I only really take on projects where I feel like I'm being hired as an artist because they want my artwork. Like I never wanted to fall into the realm of like a content creator. That just wasn't for me. So even when I'm working on client stuff, it still kind of feels like personal work. And when you bring in new people's concepts and their ideas and things like that, it definitely feels a bit like experimentation as well. Because it's kind of like ideas and things I wouldn't normally explore. Yeah. So, I mean, it all kind of melds into one, to be honest.
Yeah, cool. A couple questions came in from Blend. I appreciate all the questions, you guys. Thank you so much. A question about just how you create your characters. Are you modeling them? Are you doing them one by one? Do you want to give any like sneak peeks behind the scenes of how you base your models?
The only thing I have open now I can't show because it's a client thing. But basically, so I started with Daz, which basically gives you like the generic base human figure. It's like pretty ugly. So I will then like heavily modify that to get it to how I want to look. So basically with my figures, I kind of have like my base feminine character and my base masculine character. Mm-hmm. And then depending on what I'm trying to convey, what story I'm trying to tell, I'll then modify them either more in Daz, but again, that's really limited. So I'll take them either into Blender and sculpt on them in Blender or ZBrush, and work on them from there. So it's definitely not like an out of the box thing. Like I think the best way to do this kind of stuff is to really get in and like mess it up even and just play around with it.
Sorry, Blend, I don't know what this word is, but Jason, do you retopologize them?
Retopologize? No, not normally. Not normally. I mean, I'm normally pretty happy with how they're set up within Daz. I mean, Daz kind of makes it super straightforward for you to kind of do things like that. So I don't really retopologize unless they're going to be, unless I'm like adding something really ridiculous like horns or like fins or something growing out of the face, then you would need to. Otherwise, the textures and things are going to be really stretched and look kind of messy.
Yeah. Question from Yaki Palki. Do you rig them to pose them?
No. Well, it depends. So for stills and things like that, I won't. But for animations, if it's like a really intense animation with like lots of fast movement, I'll rig them. Just because the way that I export my animations from Daz into Blender, you can't really play them back in the viewport because the working file's too big. So if it's like a fast animation, I'll rig them in Blender so I can like animate them by hand manually, which takes a lot of time, but I mean, it's just how I work. So
I love everyone has the technical questions. Everyone wants to know. It's like
I'm honestly the worst person to ask technical stuff. I literally we have like a Discord chat, and I was saying this morning like I'm the least technological person you'll ever meet.
I mean, you've. I think that the most important part for everyone is just figuring out the method that works best for you. That's most comfortable. It's like everyone's gonna have their own weird way of working with the programs, going back and forth.
For sure. Like I get a lot of messages, people asking like, will I ever do tutorials or will I tutor them and things like that? And it's like, I'm more than happy to answer anyone's questions or like help them with whatever, but I'll never do tutorials and stuff like that just because I've learned how to do what I want to do and how I want to make stuff. And I don't know if like that would be the best way for someone else to learn. Do you know what I mean? Like you kind of need to figure out what's going to work for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We had a couple questions about how you started to live off your work, to monetize your work. And I know we haven't always worked together from the beginning of your career, but you know, at what point did you feel comfortable to kind of start to, you know, take the dive into being a full-time artist?
Yeah, so I actually had a 9-to-5 job up until, I don't even know if you know this actually, up until January last year. I quit my full-time job January last year.
I don't think I knew that. Where were you, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh my God, it's tragic. So well, it's tragic for me. No offense to anyone who's in this situation. You got to do what you got to do. I was like a call center manager for a taxi company in Melbourne. So I would sit on the phone all day and cop 8 hours of abuse and then go home and make erotic artwork.
Oh my God, I love that juxtaposition though.
I know, yeah, it was crazy. But no, like, I guess, because I'd applied to H Plus a while ago, and then you were kind enough to respond and were kind of like, oh, like keep working and refining yourself, which is what I did. And then I was lucky enough to land the Troye Sivan job, which then led into one with Sabrina Carpenter and then BB Rexa. And then that was when I felt comfortable enough to chase you to be like, hey, can we do something?
That's usually how we start to work with artists, to be honest. It's like a very slow relationship. We're either courting an artist or they're courting us or both. And I saw so much potential in your work. I saw, you know, amazing stuff that you were putting out, and I just saw it kept building and building and building. And I think a lot of that was just your own personal dedication. It was just like, you know, you continuing to create, you putting out work. And eventually, you know, people start to notice that, like myself, like clients, like Troy, you know, it's like that personal dedication.
That's definitely what it comes back to. It's just like, you've just got to keep making stuff and just like keep putting yourself out there, pushing yourself. Don't like pigeonhole yourself, I guess, or get stuck in like one. I mean, I guess I'm kind of in like one style, but I still kind of change it each time. Do you know what I mean? You've always got to be like progressing.
Yeah, you have a very diverse talent, you know, of the work that you do, and it's your signature style. I mean, your characters are your signature style. You've developed those, you know, developed how you'd make them using, you know, the most comfortable ways possible, software that you've kind of figured out.
Well, yeah, this is the great thing as well. Like 3D software, it's so accessible to everyone. I mean, there's stuff which is behind a paywall. So if you haven't got enough money, you can't get certain things. But I mean, for everything that you got to pay for, there's someone who's made it for free, or like there's a freeware version, which it's just so accessible. So I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't just jump in and give it a go, see if you like it. You're
right. There's ways to get things for free, to get access. There's a zillion probably different tutorials, YouTube. You know, there's a way.
I'm not saying go pirate it. Like,
I mean, I am. I'll say it. You can.
Oh shit. But yeah, man, it's super accessible.
Yes, Jason is an Australian artist, made by Studio JQ. Hi, John. John wants to know, what's your favorite piece? I'm assuming your favorite piece you've ever made. Maybe something recent that's a fave.
Again, I'm probably going to give like a super cliche answer, but it's probably like my most recent work. I mean, it's kind of like, I've got so much work that I have never shared because I don't think it's of a quality that I want to put out. So if I upload something, it's like my favorite thing that I've done at the time. Do you know what I mean?
So you want to put out work that you're proud of, especially your personal work.
So there's an answer that's kind of a non-answer, but
no, I think that's fair. You know, as an artist, as a critical artist, I think most artists are self-critical. It's always going to be your most recent work, you know, the thing that you have developed, that you've evolved, you know, most currently.
Like I've got a lot of stuff which is just in like my drafts folder on my hard drive, which will probably never get released.
No, absolutely.
And it's just because I'm not like in love with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Question from, where did it go? Someone asked, what advice would you give to your younger self?
How young are we talking about? Like
Let's say
4 years ago?
let's say this is from It's Lucky. What advice would you give to your younger self? I'm assuming like when you were maybe just
18?
starting out in 3D or before. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Say 18.
Okay. So to my 18-year-old self, I would say, move to a city. So I lived in a small country town at this point. So I would say move to a city so you can be yourself and stop pretending. And don't be afraid to experiment with things that people around you might not agree with.
Okay,
Also get an accountant.
Grown-up stuff. No one ever teaches you the grown-up stuff.
Seriously, that's like whenever anyone asks me any advice or anything, I'm like, get an accountant, 100%.
I mean, I never really learned business because no one ever teaches it. It's such a weird
Exactly.
world out
We're
there.
creatives. We don't want to stress about that.
It's true. Let's see. We had a question from Blue Woods. Do you see yourself doing gallery shows in the future?
Yeah.
When the world comes down, have you done exhibitions in the past much? I know actually you did out here at a Lethal Amounts. I caught that.
Yeah,
show.
I've done a couple in Melbourne. I've done one in Madrid. I've done a few across the UK and a few in the US, so LA, New York, and I think I did one in Miami as well. I wanted to do a big solo show last year. I mean, I had so many plans for last year because,
honestly,
like, I was able to, like, financially, I was able to do lots of big things last year, but then COVID said, nah, not happening. So all that got put on hold. I would love to do like a physical gallery show, but I mean, I honestly don't know when it would even be possible because, like, it's not really safe at the moment. No one can go anywhere. No one can travel, like, guilt-free. So yeah, I want to do it, but I don't know when.
Yeah, no, I know it's hard to plan anything, you know, in real life, in the public, involving travel, of course. You know, I would love to plan something with you in LA. I would love to.
Well, because I was meant to come see you last year in like June, I think.
I was to Europe, and I mean, maybe hop to Australia, but yeah, I know our Malibu plans.
Yeah.
Malibu dream house plans. Have you ever been a painter? We had a question if you'd ever worked with other mediums. I know you are a graphic designer. Were you painting in your earlier career?
So when I was like an illustrator, that was like drawing and painting. Nothing like incredible, and I will never show it. Except for like a random, like I put a picture up of one of my old like little sketches on Twitter the other day. And people noticed, they were like, oh, like we can see the influence. So like the same kind of look of the character versus how I do them now. So that was kind of something interesting to see, that like that style's definitely kind of carried through from when I was like 16 years old. But yeah, so I've painted. I wouldn't say I was ever a painter.
I think you learn, like, from the experience that you've had. I think you learn a little bit just about composition and color, and, you learn so many different things from so many different mediums. So someone else was asking, do you think you have to have a 3D, education level? Do you think you have to go to school for it? And I think it's like the base of your experience. I think it's all beneficial. Yeah,
that's what I would say. So for me, the two biggest takeaways for me, actually a few big takeaways for me from uni, was figuring out what I didn't want to do, which was like stock standard graphic design, but also the theory subjects. So when I first signed up, I was like, oh, theory, like I really hate theory. But looking back, art history, design history, and like color theory, and also photography as well, were like mega courses that I'm so happy that I did and put time into. More so photography in terms of composition and things like that. I was really lucky to have these two incredible women photography tutors at my uni, and they both kind of took me under their wing. And one of them, I like got some work through her. She would take me on set to be like her assistant. So we would go and photograph like theatre shows in Melbourne. and do like promo shots for like press releases and stuff for like random actors in Melbourne. And yeah, they were really incredible, like teaching me about composition and how to kind of structure an image in the real world. But when I work in 3D, all those skills and things they taught me, I kind of reconfigure and implement in my work.
Yeah, I think that it's just the
more knowledge, the better.
Exactly. Like learn photography, learn Photoshop, learn Blender if you can, learn 3D. Like the basis for, I think, any visual medium is just going to be more grounded the more you know.
Exactly. But again, like color theory, it's so boring, or it can be boring, but it's super important to learn, I think.
But you're so good with color and you're so good with composition, and it's like, to have a knowledge of, or just a little light briefing or knowledge of, just the essential, color palettes or essential compositions. I'm with you. I think it's all important.
It's really important to know the rules before you try to break them. That's something one of my tutors said to me, and that's something that's kind of stuck with me. It's important to kind of know that base.
That's like such a school of thought, or like a school quote, but it's true. It's totally true. Someone had a question for me, how I came to find H Plus Creative. I'm not going to talk about H Plus or myself right now, but we do have a Q&A in our highlights, and every now and then we do Q&As with me about the foundation of H Plus, about our artists and our roster. Jason has been an artist that we've been working with for a couple of years. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for all the questions. There's like so many coming in, but I don't want to spend too much of Jason's time. So maybe we'll throw in one or two more last ones here. And we are going to keep this up on our Instagram in the live section for anyone that wants to revisit it, share it. This will stick around. And Jason, anything that you want to add? Anything else you want to talk about? I mean, I feel like we could do this forever because there's such
seriously. Once I get super nervous when I do live stuff, but I mean, once I start talking, I can't really stop. I mean, I don't really think I have anything else to say. I mean, I wish I could talk about what I'm working on now. Like, I'm so excited about this magazine thing.
We have a couple really cool releases coming up, a couple really cool client projects that we'll be sharing with Jason and our other artists always. Couple questions about Blender. How long did it take you to feel comfortable with Blender?
I'll be honest with you, I still don't feel comfortable with it. Also because it's
right?
Yeah, because it's like a free software as well. They're always updating it. Like, stuff's always changing. Things are always moving in there. So, like, yeah, I mean, I don't think you'll ever get to a point where you're like, I know everything about this, the ins and outs, which I'm fine with. I love kind of like playing around, and sometimes you get like happy mistakes. You know what I mean? Like,
does it update every year?
Not even, like every couple of months sometimes.
Okay.
But here's like a little fun fact. So my glossy skin that I like the look and everything of that glossy skin, that happened by accident. And then I was just like, oh, I really like this. So sometimes mistakes can work out well. Cool. So, I mean, yeah, experiment, find what you're comfortable with, find your style. And find your niche through all of the different possibilities and softwares and mediums. Exactly.
Again, everyone go check out Jason's work. Jason Ebeyer, one of our amazing artists based in Melbourne. Check out his nifty release that he has coming up. It's not these pieces, but it will be an amazing surprise when we find out what it is. And stay tuned for seeing his sculptural work and the releases of more tangible art. Super excited.
Yeah, more stuff to fill your house with.
Totally. More stuff to, inspire your world. Everyone's spending more time at home anyway, so might as well. Well, thank you so much, Jason. Thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in and for all the amazing questions. And we will be back again in the future with more artists. And, of course, feel free to reach out to us or Jason. And have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. All right, bye, everyone.